Hello everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are creating and streaming from today, and also pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. My name is Flynn, I am hosting today and I'm here with our artist and great friend, Bill Hope. Hey Bill, how you doing?
Good. How you going, Flynn?
I'm good, thank you. Hope you're having a fantastic week, and if you are watching in chat, hope you are too. It's Tuesday lunchtime here in Sydney, Australia, where Bill and I are both from. We are live, so if you have any questions as we are going through everything today, please don't hesitate to throw them in chat. We're covering a few different things. I'll let Bill go into the details, but we will be covering Firefly, so if you have any questions about that, how to get access and the Discord, or any questions about it as we're going through, again, please don't hesitate to throw your questions in chat. But we'll also be covering Photoshop and some other techniques as well, which I will hand those questions straight over to Bill because he's the expert in that regard. But Bill, we have like a really fun kind of stream today. We're going to kind of be experimenting and playing around. I'll let you kind of explain it all.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite kind of streams where I think I'm sort of learning on the job. I have to admit, I got access to Firefly maybe 2 days ago, so it's all very new and exciting. We're going to be sort of playing around with the potential of Firefly and seeing what we can do with it. And we're going to try something called kitbashing. And I think kitbashing is a term that comes from, I think it's from the movie or the model making industry of making sets, where basically you'd take your model fighter plane and your model fire truck, and you'd take different bits of them and put them together to make a new spaceship or something like that. And we're essentially going to be doing a similar kind of deal with artificially generated images. So we're going to take a bunch of different pieces from some images that we'll generate in Firefly and try and make something new. We've had a lot of conversations around this kind of image making and the ways that it's going to change the industry or affect the industry. I think a lot of the really exciting potential is how it's going to be a tool that's going to sort of elevate people's current practice. And I think this is going to be a really good way of working in the future of having sort of a whatever you want to call it, an artificial intelligence tool, Firefly, as something that you can sort of pick up to develop resources and give you inspiration and sort of help you along your existing process. So that's what we're going to try out.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've done a few streams. We haven't done too many on them, but what's been very interesting is asking the creative community kind of how they might use it, and everyone kind of discovering little things along the way. Like we had someone on talking about using it even just as a color palette, like bringing it in and using it to select lots of different colors. Like it's quite an interesting process. We were talking about some isometric design before, which we didn't actually use live on stream, but it was like an interesting, fun discovery that it's actually very good at creating isometric little like Japanese inspired pixel art. Like what's going on here? It is interesting kind of figuring everything out together as we go along, as it's new, as it's fresh. How is it a complement to the creative process? But yeah, should we jump across? Let's jump across to your screen. We can check it out here. So you have Firefly open.
Yep. So I'll actually just go back to the main screen of Firefly. So there's a host of really exciting things that will be coming down the pipeline eventually. So definitely go and watch the Adobe Firefly video on YouTube to see some of the just really amazing stuff that's coming along. But right now, with Access, we've got 3 different tools that it uses. There's text to image, where you can type in a prompt and get an image. There's text effects, which is maybe a stream for another time, but is a really cool tool for making brand new fonts. And there's recolor vectors, which I don't fully understand, but I think is to sort of add new palettes to existing vector files.
I can throw that in as well. Yeah, so it's interesting. That didn't exist about a week ago. So it's funny because you didn't have access before, so you've always known it as there being 3. Essentially, it's a way to kind of create different variations on using a vector file. So something that you can definitely do in Adobe Illustrator by doing color lookup, or in certain ways where you set up things, you can do it in InDesign and Photoshop in certain ways as well. But what's kind of interesting is that you could do it also with an SVG file. So essentially any vector. So maybe someone sent you a logo from a I think it's pretty specific case use. But if someone sent you a logo and it's the wrong color or something, or you have something that's an SVG logo for some reason, you don't want to bring it into Illustrator, or you don't have access to it, or it wasn't set up in the right way, you can bring it in and change the color variations very, very quickly. So it's an interesting one. Yeah, there you go. That's what it does.
Great. But for our purposes today, we're going to spend most of the time working in the text to image section of Firefly. So when you open it up, you get this gallery of all these amazing, really cool images that have been made in Firefly. And I really like this actually because it gives you the prompts for the images, so you can see what's been put into the algorithm and what's come back out. So this one's pretty simple: Toad practicing karate. Not a lot to explain there. We've got this one here, which is a mechanical steampunk rhino wearing goggles and a top hat, pipes and bricks in the background, cinematic spoke, dust sparkles, God rays, photo, and dramatic light with hyper-realistic, and we get this amazing image there. So you can see it can be a very simple prompt or something really, really specific and detailed to get some of these fantastic images. And the thing that I'm really interested in is sort of exploring this new technology, and I've played around with a couple other image generators, and I've been messing about with Firefly quite a lot the past couple of days, is seeing the things that it's really good at and some of the things that it really struggles with. And some of the things that I find these kind of image generators are really, really good at is using things like sort of color palettes and sort of aesthetic renders to things. You can see in this image of flowers we've got there, it's got lots of it's sort of using the same colors really beautifully throughout the composition. It's a really nicely put together composition. There's lots of interesting shapes. It's really good at replicating textures. So something like this bear with sunglasses, the way that the fur's rendered, it's really perfect. It's really good at replicating sort of depth of field sensation. So the way that it's blurred and we've got sort of certain tints in the light, all those things like that, AI is amazingly good at putting together. But some of the things that it struggles with is really specific images or positioning of images. So if I say to the AI, I'd like to be standing on a surfboard holding an apple and there's a bird coming out of the apple, it's going to get confused along the way about putting all those different objects together. And there's been lots of things people have seen on the internet about how it struggles with hands, or it's giving people too many fingers or too many legs or something like that. So things that you would think sort of intuitive, the machine really struggles with. So when we're doing kitbashing today, we're going to bring together a whole bunch of different images and try and make something that is specific. But we're kind of sort of do the legwork of piecing all those elements together. So that's kind of what I'm keen to use this as a tool for.
Yeah.
Let's maybe just do one quick image generation just to try it out. So you can see down the bottom here, we're going to type something in. I'm going to try it seems to be very good at steampunk aesthetic. So I'm going to go for steampunk whale swimming through the ocean. Make sure I've spelled that correctly, and let's go ahead and generate that. So you'll see we get 4 options that pop up with our prompt. We've got a bunch of options on this side panel to the right here about how we can adjust that image. So we can change sort of the aesthetic, the technique that it's made in, the materials, all sorts of things like that. And you can see we've got some really fantastic results. I think this is one of the things that the AI is really, really good at, because it kind of knows the steampunk aesthetic. It's quite good at applying that to things. It's got a million images of whales, so it knows exactly what a whale looks like, and it's very good at compositing this all together into something beautiful. So we've got a really, really nice result off the bat with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'll jump into a file that I've opened up. Actually, I'll just quickly show you just a couple of the other things that I've created in Firefly so far to give you just a sense of some of the potential there. We talked about the text-to-image process, and I think the prompt for this was a angry rabbit in grass, spelling the word furious. So you can see it's come up some really nice stuff there. This was one, I think it was sort of a traditional line drawing, elegant swan-based text. So it's come up with this fantastic font. And then I tried to generate a couple of different images to piece together into one composition. So I've got another steampunk horse, I've got this angry man, and we've got a man riding a motorcycle. And you can see some of the little issues that the AI is having here, maybe on the features of the face or the hand there. It's just struggled with some of those details.
Yeah.
But I wanted to use those to piece together sort of a bigger image. And you can see here, I've dropped those, the image of the angry man, the horse, and the man riding the motorbike. And I've kind of cut and paste them all together to make this bigger, more complex image. So I wanted this specific face, I wanted the pose of the man, and I wanted the horse. And it'd be quite difficult for me to prompt that exactly into the AI, but I can make those, I can confidently generate those elements separately and then piece them together. And from that, I'd sort of taken that image there and started sketching on top of it. So I really like this idea of using AI as kind of the starting point for a new creative process where it's kind of giving me ideas. Maybe it's working out some of the technical things. Like I personally really struggled with horse anatomy. It's just something I've always not been very good at. So it's kind of helped me along there.
Is it because their knees are backwards?
Their knees are backwards. The AI did give me a 5-legged horse, but it's kind of cool.
That's
actually.
Okay.
I don't mind a 5-legged horse.
Hey, I'm just gonna check in with chat really quick. A couple of things. We've Oscar has suggested adding in the word mechanical when you put in steampunk to see the difference. Okay. Apparently, that's cool. I love that. Like people have their like prompt tips as well. That's super cool. So that's something we'll definitely try out.
There is a world of prompt vocabulary out there of websites you can go to find all the best, juiciest prompts to put into your AIs.
So I discovered this. I don't know if you discovered this in your research, but when I can't remember what I was looking for, but I was looking for something to do with generating prompts, and Etsy is full of like kits that you can download, which are prompts. So they'll have like, this prompt, like string, for example, generates this image. Here's like a pack of 150 fonts for $10 you can buy from someone on Etsy. Isn't that what a crazy world? And there were hundreds of them.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Sorry, side little tangent then, but it's creating its own little economy. There was a question I just want to address as well in chat. Is there any info when Adobe Firefly connects to other Adobe apps? No. Short answer is not yet. No, that information is not available. Yeah. Nice to have you all here.
Yeah. I mean, definitely pop in any questions about AI or things that you'd like to ask or comments in down in the comments. It's a really interesting time, and I was really excited to see Adobe come out with Firefly because. Like a lot of things on the internet, sort of all the things happening with AI happening incredibly quickly, and it feels like the really sort of scary wild west out there. And it's the kind of thing that you kind of want guardrails and controls around. So having an institution like Adobe sort of taking on something like this is quite exciting because there's so many challenges with copyright and usage and how these things are going to be used in the future. I think it will be one of those things that's going to become sort of a natural part of most people's creative processes. So having that within a safe pair of hands is kind of something that makes me feel a lot more confident in it going forward. Okay, so I've been playing around a little bit with Firefly and coming up with, these are a couple of the isometric images that we generated, which came out really nicely. I was really surprised by that. And one of the prompts that I saw on the main page was one for this terrarium. So the prompt for this was a glass jar terrarium filled with many flowering plants, foggy morning, and dreamy as kind of the aesthetic. And I think it would be cool to sort of try and develop the theme for this stream was mythical creatures. So we're going to try and piece together a mythical creature. And I thought it would be cool to have them sort of underwater, swimming in a sort of underwater terrarium. So I'm going to try and piece together a bunch of different elements to produce that effect. So the one that I like most of these four is probably the one on the far right. And I can click this button in the top left there that says show similar. And that's going to generate a couple different options based on this image. So I can kind of just explore, does the AI have any other ideas, any other cool things that it's going to come up with based on that? So I'll let it sort of chip away at that one there. And in the meanwhile, I might download one of these images. I feel like I still like the original, so I think I'm going to stick with that one. So what I'm going to do is I've just downloaded that image, and we're just going to drag and drop it into Photoshop. All right, so you can see we've got a beautiful high resolution image there. Might give us just a little bit more space to work with, because that's going to be
increase the canvas size a little bit then.
Yeah. And we'll just crop it in a little bit so we've got the right dimensions.
I'll just mention as well, like Michael and Oscar chatting about Discord. So if you're watching and you're not in the Discord community, it's an awesome community for Firefly. Jump in there. There's lots of people sharing tips. There's lots of events, like we shared this event was happening in there. I think there's like 8 events coming over the next week or so. So definitely jump in there if you're interested in learning more. It's a very quickly growing community over there, and it's super cool.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So we had that image of a whale before, and I don't think I actually want to use this whale. But one thing I did notice is that it had a very nice effect on the surface of the water there. So I might try and come up with something a little bit more creative than a whale. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section of the water, and I'm going to try and drop that into my terrarium image here. Now, a lot of this stream is kind of going to be on sort of using the various selection tools in Photoshop. So bear with me while we're going through those. So I've made just a simple marquee selection with the lasso tool over this top part of the image, and I've clicked on select and mask. And now I can change the parameters of this. I can sort of feather or blur the sort of edges of my selection, and I can shift the edge. So I'm just going to shift and blur that a little bit. I'll say okay, and now I'm just going to copy and paste that section of the water. Now I'm going to take that down. So yeah, we might end up doing sort of a bit of a crash course in compositing here as well, while we work through this one.
I feel like a lot of creatives are going to get like polishing up their compositing skills.
Thanks
to all this AI stuff. It's like, hang on, there's going to be all these like high res assets that I can use and just like bring in. I better figure out how to blend and crop and mask and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm just using the eraser tool. I've just got a really soft eraser brush, and I'm just knocking back some of those bits that I don't need and leaving the section that I do.
Nice.
I might flatten that out just a little bit to give us a slightly more on-point perspective. And now I'm just going to use a harder eraser brush to take off some more of those edges. And I might try and leave a little bit of some of these flower shapes. I think I'd like to leave those in there. So I'm just going to take a little selection with my lasso tool around some of those bits of the flower. And I think I might try and have those sort of popping out of the water a little bit as well. So I'll just erase that back a little bit. And then I'm going to use sort of a softer eraser to sort of show them coming through a bit there as well.
Nice, that was quick.
Yeah. So we've got a kind of nice watery texture on top of our image there. And now one thing I'm going to do, which is a tool I've used since it's probably like one of the first tools I ever learned in Photoshop, was a color adjustment, and it's called Photo Filter. So again, I've just made a rough selection around this section here, and I wanted to make it sort of more of a blue tone to get some of the water look in there. So I've made my selection, and again, I'm just going to go to select and mask, get a nice soft edge on that selection. And then I'm going to click on one of the adjustment layers down on the bottom right here, and I'm going to get the one that's called Photo Filter. And you can see with this one, what I'd like to do is I want to sort of shift a lot of the colors to something more blue. So I can select a couple of different filters here, and one of them is literally just called Underwater. And I'm just going to turn up my underwater filter to get a bit more of a blue effect there. All right, that's looking okay. So let's try and come up with some creatures now. Any ideas from chat? Any ideas from Flynn?
Throw them in chat, everyone. There is a slight delay in chat. It's like 30 seconds or something, so we'll give them a minute to think of something. I'm just going to start with octopi very well, and squids, but I don't know if we're going to have enough room for all of that. But squid or octopus, octopi.
Nobody knows, Flynn.
Nobody knows.
One of those just mysteries of the universe. All right, let's go deep sea creature, squid. I'm going to say hyperreal. So when you're, apologies to any serious AI prompters out there, I'm going to use the best ones I can. Detailed, moody, let's say soft light. You can enter just these kind of like descriptive terms to add just a little bit of sort of additional information or picking up some different sort of references. You're sort of asking, you kind of imagine the AI is having this vast data set and you're using a couple different prompts to say, take a little bit more of that ingredient, take a little bit more of that ingredient.
I get in trouble quite a lot for being too lazy. I'm just putting a couple of words in, and then Firefly's like, can you be more specific? Like, add some more. We've got a lot of data to go through, buddy. We have some suggestions from chat as well when we're ready to move on to a few more.
I'd be keen to hear the suggestions.
Okay. Shout out. Hello, Annika. Streamer in the chat. What's up? Has suggested orcas. Very cool. Oscar has suggested seahorse as well.
Ooh. Sorry, Annika, I like
more
seahorse.
Specific, intricate, multicolored polka dot seahorse. Wow. Okay.
Actually, there's a cool effect in Firefly that we can play around with here. So we've got seahorse, intricate, multicolor. Let's just try that. Keep it simple for now. But there's a couple of cool effects that we can play around with. Oh, wow.
That turns out pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got a very cool seahorse there. And you can, down on this side panel here, there's something called styles, and you can add these different effects to the image that you've generated. And one of them is bioluminescent. So I think we should try and see what we get if we add the bioluminescent feature to our seahorse. I reckon we could get some really nice glowy effects. Okay, yeah, we've got some really nice multicolored effects on that one there. I think I might steal this guy. Maybe we'll populate a couple of these around. So I might grab a couple different seahorses. Quite like this one here as well. So we'll download both of those.
I saw someone doing a very quick silhouette background. So they were doing like a mock comic book cover, and the front of the comic book they'd illustrated, wasn't this, but like it was Captain America or something on the front of the cover, and they had the title up top. But in the scene, they had like an entire background of like other characters, just their silhouettes. And so what they did is they came in and then they just kept generating different superheroes and then dropped them all into Photoshop and then created them as a silhouette and a gradient, and went great. There's like a big crowd of a silhouette of, all these look like, they'd illustrated like 50 different superheroes in the background. It's just really interesting, like how people
that's a fantastic idea.
Time.
Yeah. Oh, I might be trying that with some storyboarding stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is I've got my image of my seahorse, and I'm just using a tool called the Magic Wand tool, which is just up here in your tools panel. And I'm just selecting all the colors around this seahorse because I don't really need a lot of that stuff there. So if I just rasterize my layer, I'm just going to delete those bits that I don't need. And now I'm going to go in and just select my seahorse friend here. And we just want to sort of really cleanly crop this seahorse out. So if I just cut and paste my seahorse, that's looking really nice. So we might shrink him down quite a bit. And one of the tricky things with this kind of kitbashing is that I'm going to struggle a little bit with getting all the colors to work nicely together. And a really cheap and easy way of doing this is to basically put everything under the same photo filter. So you can see that's what my seahorse looks like above the filter, but I'm just going to drop him below the photo filter, and it just kind of knocks back some of those jarring colors to make it feel a bit more part of the scene. And another thing I might do, because we're underwater, it's quite easy to I want to sort of paint in a little bit of kind of atmosphere in the water. And I'm just going to select that kind of greeny color. I'm going to get a version of that, maybe a dark version. And I'm going to get a really soft sort of opaque brush, and we're just going to paint in some of that color in the front there. And I can kind of push some of the characters into that color and hide behind it a little bit, and I'll make them feel just a little bit more like they're part of the scene.
Nice.
So let's have one seahorse over here.
And you work in like a non-destructive way as well,
one.
so you can still move the seahorse around if you choose to, and it's not just a permanent, pixels sitting on pixels for the seahorse. You can just move it wherever, add different.
To be honest, I'm being a bit destructive here because I'm kind of using this as a mock-up. So there's lots of things I could have done about masking that seahorse instead of just deleting pixels and things like that. Sure. But I'm doing my best to keep it on layers and things so I can move it around.
Cool.
Okay, what else do we have? We're just going to download one more of the seahorses. So we'll just wait for that guy to turn up. I'll drag this guy in. And we'll do a very similar process here of just selecting a bunch of the pixels around our seahorse friend. And there's some more complicated sections there I might need to just erase by hand. And this seahorse is actually kind of nicely faded into the color already, so it shouldn't give us too much trouble. There's so many great things about sort of using new reference, but there's so many different effects here that I otherwise wouldn't use for myself. So I'm not making something here that I think would end up being a final product, but this would be a great inspiration for me to get started piecing this artwork together. Okay, now let's just go back to Firefly, and we had one of these squid monsters that I quite liked. We've got these three on the right that sort of look quite a lot like a squid already, but I like that this one has got something a bit sort of wacky going on with it. It's sort of put one of the tentacles almost like a big nose or something like that. And I kind of like that the AI's abstracted it a little bit. So I want to work with that. If I generate some more options, it's given me a few more squid there. So I think I'm going to stay with this one, and maybe we can add some features to this one as well. So let's download our friend there.
This reminds me a lot of the stream we did, I think it was last year, where it was mashing up different creatures together, like different animals, but you're just sketching everything.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that this, like, if this existed, that would have been like a stream that we could have very easily done, created those just two crazy creatures and whacked them together. It's very interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So we've kind of got that crazy looking squid thing, but I want to sort of add some bits onto it. I want to do a bit more of the mashing up of stuff. So one animal that I admit I had a deep fondness for as a child was the mantis shrimp. I remember giving a speech to my primary school class in year 3 about the mantis shrimp. And they're incredible looking creatures. So I think I might sort of try and generate some mantis shrimp-like crustaceans, and we'll try and grab some bits off them to add to our squid. So let's type in mantis shrimp in the ocean, highly detailed, let's say glowing maybe, see what we get with that. So I'm just going to try and, I'm looking for some sort of monster parts to add to my squid character. Oh boy. Comes through with the goods. Okay. Well, I'm really loving the eyeballs on this one and these crazy looking mandibles. 3 hands. I think they've got more like 7 or 8, to be honest. Right. So I think it's been very low key on the hands, really. Okay, here's our mantis shrimp, and let's grab our little squid friend as well. All right. Just jumping in the chat as well. Just mentioning someone sort of saying, trying to help with the bashing photo comp part, but Firefly doesn't seem to understand flat, solid green, black drop. to alpha out. Yeah, that doesn't exist yet, but that's going to be a very interesting day when that is implemented. I'm sure it's coming very soon. Like white background, black background, or alpha, or export as PNG. That will be pretty. That'll be pretty wild, especially for stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's all coming down the pipeline, and yes, we wouldn't need to be doing quite so much of the of this kind of selection business that I'm doing now. But it's good refresher for everyone. Okay, so that's actually worked quite nicely, dropping that one in. And again, I just want to reveal some of the plant sections that were beneath this. So I'm going to go back over with my eraser and try and highlight some of those. You can see, because it's that sort of dark blue color, everything's sort of blending in quite nicely together. And I could even put some plants or seaweed or something over the top, overlaying that to kind of distract from some of the sections that are missing. All right, that's looking really fun. Now, I love these eyeballs. I think I'm going to replace our current eyeballs with these crazy mantis shrimp ones. So I'm going to go in with my lasso tool and just select those. I'm going to copy and paste those out. And maybe we'll try and work those in to our little friend here. All right, and they're nicely actually positioned to fit relatively well. And again, I'm just going to neaten up some of what I'm doing there. So,
what a freak show. Like nightmare fuel if you zoom in a lot and really kind of start trying to figure it out, like what's going on with the architecture.
Let's not freak everyone out too much. Let's try and make it a bit cuter.
In a lovely, endearing way.
Yes.
You kind of have to go with the fantasy a little bit sometimes. You zoom in too close. I generated so much stuff in Firefly when it first came out that I was like, oh great, I got all these new desktop backgrounds and everything, and on first impression it looks perfect. And then after a while, it's like as if I printed it and put it on my wall because it was my desktop background. After a while I'm like, maybe I should have cleaned this up in Photoshop a little bit. I kept finding all these other mistakes, but my brain just initially was just like, that's beautiful, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Send it to print.
Yeah, it's... Okay, I think the buck teeth are throwing this one out. I'm trying to generate a, let's just say, cute fuzzy monster. Let's see what we come up with there. I'll let that just sort of...
Look at this fella. Look at the teeth on the left one.
I like the eyeballs,
one,
but,
the teeth are
but we're getting some intense stuff here. Let me think. What would be a good prompt? Happy little fuzz ball. Cute. Okay, I'll let that work its way. And let's find some more of those mantis shrimp kind of bits here. So I'm going to grab a couple of these little mandibles. I find it very interesting. Like, it does teach you kind of interesting things about looking by seeing the way that the computer analyzes different sections, because it's kind of it's an abstraction of every part of it, but seeing how the computer thinks it's going to render the face of a shrimp or something, or the sort of armor on its mandibles or things like that. I just think it's a very interesting process of sort of recontextualizing how these things come together.
Yeah. Or if something's been replaced by something that's kind of similar, like it almost looked like I don't know if they're mandibles as well, but whatever was sort of comes out the front of a shrimp, it sort of looks like it's been replaced with just kind of like regular vines. Like they kind of seem similar enough that it's like, you can have, these vines look kind of similar.
Yeah, that's a vine. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right, so I might put those on as sort of almost like little bunny ears on top of this character, and I'm going to drop those underneath the water so it fits in with the rest. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. Yep. I like this guy. Very, very cute.
Very cute.
So maybe I'll see if I can come up with some variations on this cute little buzzball. I think I might try and put a cute little mouth on our creature to sort of lighten the tone a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, we were best off with the original.
It's interesting, isn't it, when the first one's the best one? It's funny because it's like that with
design.
Does
seem that way,
isn't it? You know, sometimes you create something and then you're like, well, I should continue to iterate, and then every now and then you end up going back to your original. But it's still important to kind of explore all of the options. For sure.
All right, so similar process. I'm just grabbing my lasso tool, and I might try and take that whole section of its cute little button nose in its mouth. Let's just copy and paste that out. All right, we're just making this more. I don't think we've helped the situation whatsoever here, Flynn.
What sort of voice would this creature have? It's incredible.
Yeah, squeaky, I think. Okay, and now I'm going to just try and match that a little bit better. I might darken it a bit, and I'm going to add a bit more of that blue filter just to this section.
Nice.
Okay. Now, I think it would be nice to add a couple sort of foreground elements there. So I'm going to go back, and one thing we can do while we're sort of waiting for the layered files functionality to come through is we can just say something like seaweed on clear blue background. And we'll let that generate. And if I ask the AI to make sort of a simple background, it's often a lot easier to remove. So hopefully we get some things like that. Now it's given me something that is good, but is a little bit, I'm going with a slightly more sort of hyper-realistic photo look. So you can see on the content type on this panel on the right, we've got graphic, photo, or art. I think I want to try photo instead to see if I can get something a little bit more realistic looking. Okay, that's definitely given us a better version of it. So something like this is perfect because it's just a super easy, clear background. So I'll go ahead and download that little piece of seaweed.
And did you pick blue just because blue's close to like the colors that you're using here? So if you cut it out and there's a bit of blue on the edging, on the edge pixels, it doesn't really matter?
That's a very good point, Flynn, but I wasn't thinking that deeply, but that's a very good idea.
Wow. There you go.
So the way I'm going to select this to make it easy is I'm going to use my magic wand again, and you can just unclick a checkbox called contiguous, and now it will just select all the blue in the image. So I'm just going to select all of that and rasterize my layer and delete it, and that's worked quite well. So now I might try and... Actually, we've got a bit of an issue here where you can see we've got this outline on the blue there. And all that means is I wasn't quite aggressive enough in removing those pixels. So let's just undo a few steps. So I'll select all my blue, but I'm going to increase the tolerance of the magic wand. And that basically means it's going to select a wider variety of blues. So I might make that 50 now instead. And that's going to select more of the blues. And just to be sure, I'm going to go to select and mask. And I'm just going to move the edge of my selection in a little bit. And then hopefully that will give us a much cleaner, it's given us a much cleaner selection there.
That's a really good masking job of something that's quite complex as well.
Yeah, it definitely helps the process. So let's drop that down in the foreground that we've got here. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and erase the bits that I don't need of this image.
Have I pointed out yet at all in this stream that I love when you're erasing, because it actually, the sound of you moving your pen across sounds like an erase sound effect?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I had
incredible.
no idea.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's really great. I think because your microphone is so close, it like actually does a sound.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Giving
Very
you a little
impressive
bit of
setup.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've pieced together something more interesting there, and yeah, I think we've tried to sort of express with this kind of mock-up that you would have been able to get something perhaps close to this with an AI, but if you wanted to position your seahorses in exactly the right place, or just get the right tone or something like that, you can really sort of make sure you get it just so. There's lots of things in this that if I was mocking this up to sort of make my own version of this later on, there's lots of things about, say, like the patterns around the top, how the light reflects off the squid creature or something. There is something I never would have thought of, but having that as reference to sort of work into my own work is really, really great.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun creative process as well. You can, as I'm sure you know, Flynn, you can sink a great deal of time into just going on to the next prompt. They're like, oh, what would that be? What would that be? What would that be?
For sure.
Okay. We've got a little bit of time left. I might just start on a new one to try out something else. But if there's any questions or ideas in the chat, definitely let me know.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to move on to another one. We don't have a ton of time. We've got like 14 minutes or something left for day. So throw your fantasy themed creature, or you could also throw in Bill. Maybe we'll come up with a scene together so we can get started. And then maybe chat if you have fantasy-like creatures, mythical kind of creatures that you would like to suggest, and then we'll see how far we go. We'll take a suggestion from each person or something first in best dressed. Yeah, I feel like space prompts seem to do very, very well.
Okay, let's see how we go with massive bridge through space, castle in background, epic and magical.
Amazing.
Plenty to work with there. There we go. That is good. I think we might just wrap it up there. Okay, this is a good start. Now, I think I'm going to try and work some sort of creature into this.
So Michael's got a question in chat. I don't think that we're equipped to answer. What is the ultimate fate of the universe according to the most widely accepted models in theoretical physics, and what implications would this have for the nature of reality? I don't know if you want to tackle that one, Bill. That might be a question for ChatGPT.
I think you would get a much more coherent answer to put that into ChatGPT. Yeah. Sorry, can't help with that one.
You got any Photoshop questions? Throw them in chat.
Stunned me.
And Johanna has suggested we've got our first creature suggestion, which is an owl bear, which I really like. An owl bear.
Owl bear.
Really cool. Checking back with you. So we've got these interesting castles, space. Which one do you like?
All right, owl bear. Details moody. Okay. All right, I'm just going to put all of that into a folder, and we will move on to something new. Okay, so we've got our background. It's kind of just decided to go with a straight owl. I wonder if we could say maybe we'll try bear with owl eyes, creature.
That's a good idea.
Monster. It is interesting. I was talking to Flynn before about sort of what the results kind of tell you about the input data set. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. It is... I love this one. It is interesting with something like the owl feature. You can tell that Adobe Stock obviously has a wealth of fantastic owl imagery that is inputting into to get that very, very specific result. But we've managed to mix it up a little bit here. So we've just got the head there, but that gives us a good potential to find some kind of alternative body for it.
It's a very stern look that we're getting from this bear.
Yeah. No, this is a bear that you don't want to disappoint, I think.
Looks like it's too late for that. And I got a few more prompts as well if you want to throw a few more in.
Yep. What else have you got?
Okay, we got massive lizard-like bear creature. So we're going down the bear route. That's interesting.
Might try. I want to sort of try and see this lizard front on, so I'm going to try and give some additional detail and see massive lizard running towards camera. I'm going to put in photoreal. Say detail. Maybe we'll just put in photography as well and see what we get out of that. And perhaps we can mash that up with our existing owl bear head that we've got. Ooh, this is good.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really like what we got with that one. So let's see if we can sort of bring these two elements together in our remaining minutes. And so Flynn, we'll be back at this tomorrow. We're going to be working on insects and seeing what we can come up with there. So if you've got any burning questions or things that you'd like us to experiment with, or just general questions about AI, definitely join us again tomorrow if there's anything we can help with there.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, it's 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, but wherever you are in the world, it's the same time that we were today. Tomorrow. That's the best way to share it because everyone different time and everywhere you all are. So yeah, if you'd like to join us again, please do jump on across, get your prompts ready as well. We'll maybe take some more suggestions from chat because that's been quite fun. I think I like the serendipitous who knows what we're going to get when chat throws in their suggestions. So yeah, the topic is insects. So we'll see how we go. Oh no, you chopped his head off.
I did chop his head off, but we're going to replace him with a much better head. So
I see. Okay, good.
Yeah, not too much of a tragedy here.
Thanks for sharing a couple of just a shout out as well to some of the people in chat sharing like their prompt ideas and things like that. That's something that Discord is great for as well. But I love seeing some of them here because this is one I haven't seen before. Oscar has said, I have something you can try in your prompts that I just discovered today. Scene from a drone.
Scene from a drone. Oh, that's really, really good because I've tried playing around with sort of something being top down or from a top level, but it's one of those concepts that's quite hard to explain to a computer.
Right.
That you want the camera to be at a high angle, but something like scene from a drone is perfect because it's naturally just going to be from that angle. So I should definitely give that a go.
There you go. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay. Well, we've definitely ended up in a place I didn't think we would get to, but I'm happy that we're here. So let me just kind of move this body around a little bit more. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sort of, I've just made a mask around this lizard, but it's giving me a bit of a clean edge there that I want to sort of pare back a bit, sort of try and blur some elements of that a bit more. So I'm just going to paint into the mask that I've got around that. Just soften up all the edges around these bits that should be sort of blurred in the background. And the other thing that I need to do with this one is kind of do a little bit of color correction with it. So again, I'm going to use the photo filter. And you can see our background's got a lot of blue light in it. So I'm just going to sort of increase a lot of those blue tones. And we're going to darken it a little bit as well to try and just make it sit into that existing background a little bit more. Maybe just a little bit more. I'm sort of trying to color match some of the colors in the background there. So that really intense blue. We'll do what we can to incorporate that. And a similar kind of deal with our bear friend here. I'm sure this is a whole discipline of properly comping images together that I might be missing, but we're doing the best we can here. Okay, let's just zoom that whole thing in to lose a bit of the background. Okay, brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining in with us today. There's a lot more to explore. It's such an interesting time with this kind of technology where everything's a bit sort of up in the air and you're sort of seeing where it's going to land and what's going to be important and what's not going forward. Yeah. But I think with a lot of these technologies, I've talked to a few people who are a little scared about the future with it, but I find that the more that you use it, the more you sort of see the benefits, but also the limitations of it. And I've really enjoyed learning about it. It makes me feel like it's something I can incorporate into my practice and just become part of my future workflow.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. Like I've played around quite a lot with it, and we've had a lot of artists, lots of very talented people on here, particularly illustrators is a skill set that I don't have. And I've played around sort of thinking, oh, now I can just grab all this reference image and I'll just kind of, fake it a little bit and draw over the top. No, it turns out you actually still need skills and knowledge and experience and things like that. Yeah, it is very interesting going through it all together. Like we're all at the coalface of generative AI and how it's going to be integrated into things, like including Adobe Suite and how creatives choose to use it. Something that I always find very interesting as technology is developed and gets released into the world is the unpredictability of how people are going to use it. It's a little bit like computer games and things like that. Like people will develop a game for 5 years and it'll be out for a week and someone will find all these exploits or all these cheats, all these different ways to do it. Has to kind of constantly be patched because once you release it into the masses, they tend to use it in different ways that were no one internally or ever sort of predicted, especially when you start mashing things up together. So yeah, very interesting times, and I'm glad to be here for it. Thank you, Bill, and thank you everybody in chat. It's been a great, fun little stream. And we'll be back at the same time tomorrow with Bill Hope. Get your insect prompts ready to go, and we'll be here. Thanks again, Bill. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
See ya.